name is Anwar Omish, and I'm a junior at Harvard University. I'm against CVE because Muslim communities deserve better than to be targeted, surveilled, and criminalized by the state. I'm against CVE because we need and deserve reliable and safe access to social service organizations that support our communities. I'm against CVE because ideas aren't criminal, and Muslim communities have the right to express themselves, no matter how unpopular or different those views might be. I'm against CVE because it doesn't work, and because we as a community should control our own narratives, not the government or some other group. I'm against CVE because trust is essential to our communities and the ways that they operate, and safe homes cannot be built out of fear. I'm against CVE because we deserve better.
My name is Mahfouz Rahman, and I am against the Countering Violent Extremism program here in the United States. It is in my firm belief that it pits brothers against sisters, mothers against fathers, and communities against one another.
As a young Muslim woman who chooses to wear the headscarf and already gets a lot of scrutiny for that, whether it's from the media or people in the streets, people questioning and feeling like they have the right to question all my decisions because I visibly identify as Muslim, I really oppose the CVE program because it just kind of encourages this otherness of Muslims, like Muslims are linked to extremism. We need to have this program that spies on Muslim communities. I think all of us as Muslims get enough scrutiny, and we don't need the CVE program linking Muslims to otherness and extremism. We certainly don't need the government funding a program like this.
Hello, my name is Adnan Perwez. I'm the current president of the UC Davis MSA. I, among many other Muslim student leaders, completely condemn the CVE program, primarily for three reasons. Number one, it's actually completely ineffective. Study after study has shown that it does not actually reduce extremist sentiment within the Muslim community, neither does it isolate or somehow find the people who propagate it. Number two, by continually focusing on the Muslim community as some type of extremist group, it actually excludes all the other groups that unfortunately also have problems with violent extremist ideology, and by doing so, it really sort of wastes. It's a misuse of public resources. And number three, by using entrapment methods and undercover agents, the program actually ends up increasing suspicion between Muslims and the government that is supposed to protect and serve it, right? Because this is especially apparent within the Muslim student college community, where the bulk of the effort of the government really goes on, and it just stifles dissent, it stifles conversation, and it creates this huge atmosphere of distrust that plagues our community and worsens our relationship with the government.
Hello, and may peace be upon you all. My name is Fatima, and I am currently against CVE because of the way it has marginalized and otherized the Muslim community. I feel as though grassroots efforts are a lot more effective than current strategies that have been criminalizing the Muslims in America for years. And I feel a way forward is to have more Muslims at the seat at the table during these discussions and not just on the menu.
Hello, my name is Ismail, and I do not support the CVE's methods in criminalizing Muslim communities here in the United States.
My name is Sabia, and I am against countering violent extremism because it assumes that we as Muslims are inherently criminals, and it tries to infiltrate our communities.
All right, ready? Okay, so the issue behind a lot of CVE programs is that it assumes that the main motivation for terrorism is based on ideology. It assumes that there's actually a train of thought that's happening when in the case that's actually not true. In most cases, that's actually not true. The Brennan Center actually gave a report where they said that there are actually more factors that go into play when it comes to extremism. A lot of it can be one's psychology, pathology, and even like their environment factors. Those actually play a part into one's train of thought and how that person's feelings towards extremism can be influenced. The issue also with a lot of the panelists that we have, where we have panels and people talk about how we can fight particularly Islamic extremism, is that Muslims aren't actually being considered or even asked these questions. Usually the people who are talking about these kind of programs are people who have nothing to do with Islam, people who are government officials, but they've never even stepped foot into a Muslim community. That's something that needs to be addressed. The Muslim community actually has a right in order to know how their community is being targeted and how their community is being surveillanced. The issue with CVE programs is that it has a lot more to do with increasing law enforcement and surveillance than it does to actually fight extremism. When you look at a trend that's been happening since CVE programs have actually been enacted into Congress, you can see that the main issues or the main things that are being said about CVE programs, those issues aren't even being targeted. A lot of ideology doesn't really play a factor into extremism, but for some reason that's what's being said to us, that ideology is what we need to attack, even though that's actually not the main factor for extremism. So a lot of times imams and scholars and Muslim activists, they're not being put into the conversation, and that needs to be addressed. They need to be put into the conversation. Who knows the Muslim community better than the people who are actually working for the Muslim community? So definitely when it comes to these panels, the Muslim narrative is very important, especially when it comes to CVE programs. Their voices need to be heard.